Hello, this video is for Monday, June 16th, and on Mondays we reflect upon the joyful mysteries. And I know I've done some videos on what to think about as we reflect upon the joyful mysteries, but I felt it was worthwhile to do it again. So I'm going to again read from my Rosary booklet, and at the end, we'll come up and think about some things we can reflect upon and meditate upon as we say each of the joyful mysteries. And we'll begin with the first, the Annunciation. So here goes. The first joyful mystery, the Annunciation. In this mystery, we recall the day when the angel Gabriel was sent from heaven to announce to Mary that she was to be the mother of God. Mary was deep in prayer when the angel greeted her with the words, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women." He went on to explain his visit. He told her that the time for the promised Redeemer's coming was at hand, and that she was the one God had selected from among all women to be the mother of his Son. He explained to her satisfaction how God could bring about this most wonderful thing. Then Mary bowed her head in submission and said, "Behold the handmaid of the Lord. Be it done unto me according to your word." And at that very moment she spoke these words, the Word was made flesh, and Mary became the mother of Jesus. Let us remember always that God gives us his choicest blessing in time of prayer. So as I read that passage this time, I think about the fact that God gives us his choicest blessing in time of prayer. So in times of uncertainty or in times when we're having some trouble, that's the time to pray, because that's when God is going to give us his choicest blessing. And certainly Mary was in prayer when the archangel appeared and announced to her that she was going to conceive and bear the Son of God. So that profound mystery invites us to reflect on Mary's obedience and the beginning of the incarnation. And another thing that I get from this passage is that it says, and at the very moment she spoke the words, "Behold the handmaid of the Lord, be it done unto me according to your word," it says, the Word was made flesh. And in our church, that phrase is up at the altar, the Word became flesh. And I used to see that, and I never really had such a true understanding of what it meant, what the significance was. And here I do. Now I know it comes from the first joyful mystery, the Annunciation. When Mary says yes to the Archangel Gabriel, and at that moment she says yes, that's when Jesus begins his earthly life. And there's some other things we can think about too. We can think about the role of the Archangel Gabriel and how angels are a messenger of God. And Mary saying yes to his request. And that again contrasts with Eve's disobedience, in a way restoring what was lost by Eve's disobedience, and her role in salvation and accepting the request to be the mother of God and her cooperation with this divine plan. So for ourselves, we can think about a few things. We can think about our own willingness to say yes to God's will in our lives, and areas where we can maybe trust God more deeply, because sometimes we have an idea of what God's plan is, and maybe we resist it. And we should think about imitating Mary's trust, especially in times of uncertainty. And we always have that little voice kind of guiding us to what's right, and maybe we should listen to that voice a little bit more. So we can think about trusting in grace when facing our own responsibilities, and how grace works in our life, and how we're given this invitation to cooperate with God's plan. And I'd like to end with a little prayer here. And it's a prayer that I found, and I think it's really appropriate to the first joyful mystery, the Annunciation. And the prayer goes like this: Lord, grant me the grace to respond to your call with the same humility and trust that Mary showed at the Annunciation. Help me to be attentive to your voice and to say yes to your will each day. So I thank you for listening, and I thank you for joining, and I will see you again. Bye-bye, everyone.